Mon nom est Marc Saner, je suis le directeur de l'Institut de la science, la société et la politique publique. I'm Marc Saner, director of the Institute for Science, Society and Policy. I have a very simple task tonight. I'm really just here to introduce myself for 1 minute. I will then hand over the word to Gordon, who is the co-organizer. His organization is the co-organizer of tonight's event and the symposium that follows. Let me just say one thing. We have 3 public events. This is the first. There will be one tomorrow evening and the third one late afternoon on Wednesday. And like I said, the whole effort is a co-production between Situating Science, which is represented by Gordon, and the Institute for Science, Society and Policy. So I'll let Gordon introduce our distinguished speaker.
Yes, I'm the National Director of the Situating Science SSHRC cluster for the study of science from the humanities and social sciences perspective. And we're very pleased to do this rather unique event with the Institute for Science and Science Policy. And I'm given the pleasure of introducing Yves Gingras. Those of you that have been living in a cave will have never heard of Yves Gingras, but he is one of our, other than Margaret Atwood maybe, one of our great public intellectuals. Indeed, we sort of term him, when he's not grouchy, as one of great Canada's and Quebec's sages. His research in this sense spans many fields. History of science, sociology of science, and philosophy of science and technology, and his success has been exemplary in every one of those subfields. Yves achieved his master's in physics from Laval ages ago, and his PhD in history and sociology and social politics of science from the University of Montreal in 1984. And his first book, which came out of his thesis, Physics and the Rise of Scientific Research in Canada, resulted in his ascendancy almost immediately as a recognized important scholar in the field of history, philosophy, and sociology of science. Since then, he has written or co-written close to a dozen books and given nearly, as he says on his website, nearly 2,000 conference papers. His books include The History of Sciences in Quebec, which is a prize-winning book on the history of science in Canada. And I can mention his paper, which I was at the Dibner Institute for the History of Science at MIT back in the day, when he composed this definitive book, or a paper on the social and epistemological consequences of the mathematization of physics, which won the Ivan Slade Award for the British Society of History of Science. Well, look, his achievements are legion. He is a Canada Research Chair. He is the major co-founder of the Observatory of Science and Technology at the University Center for Research, Inter-University Center for Research on Science and Technology, CERST, where he was director from 2001 and 2002. He is indeed a public intellectual. His regular contributions to Radio Canada are now being published as a separate book, that's right, soon. And it is in his capacity as one of the major commentators on science and technology in our modern world, as one of our premier commentators on the relationship between science and society. We're very pleased to have Yves speak on the very issue that is driving this symposium, the transformations in the relationship between science, policy, and citizens. I give you Yves Gingras.